Yeah, welcome back to another session of Gaming with God. I'm your host, Grumpy Old Dude. And we're going to continue here today with Wizardry 6. And last time up, getting my butt handed to me by the fat rat here behind this mouse hole. I think what I'm going to do is go back up to the first floor. And now that we've got this jailer's key, and we'll see about going through some of the doors up there that we couldn't get through before. Let's see. I believe I just went the wrong way. Yep.
I guess you never even noticed it, you know?
Let's see if this will get me through this door, this gate right here. I don't know if it will or not.
So when Larry joins TSR,
we're going to find out.
That's a big step, right? As here's a guy who's going to be doing big color pieces, oils, or, you know.
Where'd the jailer key go?
And so to really scale up to be
okay.
Product, which is what was the goal.
Where did my jailer key go? Iron, copper.
And so that's what they had to use to get there.
My favorite thing about Larry Elmore are his skies. Even if it's a stormy sky, it's just so like he went out and took a photograph of the most.
Well, so much for that idea. Where the hell did it go?
Well, Larry Elmore just does some fantastical environments. His landscapes are just beautiful.
The land, the environment.
Well, now I'm kind of stymied.
Snow, if it's mountains, if it's the desert, water. This is important to the game. And on top of that, I love painting landscapes.
And he loves figure painting, and he loves story. You look at his characters, and they're wearing unique forms of armor and interesting weapons and tools that they're carrying.
Yeah, there's all kind of stuff up here to try.
Fascinating. And then in the background is this landscape, you know, castle, ruins, forests, but you know, you see the depth of the world.
I made these things, they hook over there, they hit this piece of wood here, and they float right above your painting. So I use it to brace my hand on when I paint. This is how wide that board was when I got it.
Iron
Back
key,
in
no.
1987, I worked at TSR, okay? So I've used this thing.
Okay, I'm really confused now. Where the hell that jailer key went?
So all this paint here
But
is made of little dabs of paint.
other than that,
Slowly built up.
the other thing I can do is run them up to level 6.
Everything I've done since 87 is probably got
Go up to the Belfry.
paint in there.
We'll run them up to level 6. And then go from there.
Had this thing that he would sometimes assign the name Jack Fred to some of his paintings.
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
Like he didn't have time to do.
It won't take too terribly long, at least not to get Sylvia and these 3 up to level 6.
Sort of funny and real country.
Fight punch the vampire, fight punch the vampire, fight thrust the vampire, use the loot
I ended up painting it.
on the other 2, fight thrust on the vampire, fight thrust on the vampire, kill the vampire bats.
So I thought, I'm not signing Jack Fred. So some of the others of us occasionally would have to do something that was really kind of not of the best quality. We would sign a Jack Fred. So occasionally you'll find the Jack Fred contributed among the credits in the TSR.
All that killed one of
The
them.
thing is always, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it and hoping it turned out cool and it was fun and people enjoyed it.
Let's see here.
The thought of it is the
She'll
idea
heal wounds on herself.
of creating this image and this is going to be the birth of something huge.
This probably the most
Shoot an arrow there. Thrust. That's those 2. Bash at those 2. Go. That kills the regular bat. Here's the vampire bat. And there's the other regular bat.
No explanation, just no. You don't like it. I'm gonna go see Carrie.
Save, game, and resume.
Special people could see.
We're on the safe side here of the stairwell.
Just cover down for his D&D that I want to talk to him. And I told him, I said, what do you want? I said, I've turned in 2 or 3 things already, and you don't like it. I said, so what do you want on this cover? And he looked at me and sort of bent over, and he said,
Yeah, we only have one vampire bat this time.
So I was sitting there like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. So I went back and drew this drawing relatively fast and showed it to him. That's exactly. It's not a horrible painting, but it's not the best painting ever done. I think for the time and for the game and to reflect the action that young people wanted to see in the game, it did its job.
I don't really
Sophie's
remember ever
poisoned.
seeing Jeff paint.
Vampire bat is dead.
Looking at his canvas,
Study. You walk away and you get a cup of coffee.
Spell heal wounds on self.
You go to work on your own piece for an hour and you come back and you slowly study. You go to the bathroom, you come back, and it's half done.
And I'll attack those 4. Those 3.
Reference like Keith and Larry did. So when you look at Jeff,
Those 2.
feel the energy, the gestural energy behind it.
Out of all the artists
That one.
that we're doing, Larry Elmore, Clyde Caldwell, Jeff's artwork made me feel like a kid again. When I saw Jeff Easley's art from Monster Manual 2,
Let's back up.
Fighter
Hide. Hide.
that rocked my world.
Parry, rest. Hide. Parry, rest. Parry, rest.
Here's real art on the covers of the TV.
2 of them woke up.
with Jeff easily, it would be the dragons. He's kind of one of those where you can look at it and you know that it's a Jeff Easley dragon.
Jeff's dragons are just friggin' cool, man.
I mean, look at here. We've got one of Jeff Easley's incredible paintings of
Let's see. That should do the Valkyrie up a level.
Scales, the drooling, you know.
All right. Got 9 skill points.
It's just
That's
you know,
good.
There's so much life and detail in it that's amazing.
Yeah, my holy grail, I would say that, I still don't believe I have it, is definitely a Jeff Easley's Big Red Dragon painting. From what I understand, the art direction that Jeff got is like, we want a dragon that's kind of in your face and whatnot. So, that's kind of how I got introduced into D&D.
I think I had done one
Armor plate.
dragon before I got to TSR.
So there is
And it was the first
Sylvia's up a level.
dragon in the biggest sigh.
Now I want to get these other 3. The Bard, the Mage, and the Priest. And I think at that point, that'll raise their spell bill abilities. Of course, it would help if these guys hit more often. My front 2.
Skeletons and Fading Undead, that sort of thing. It harkens back to my lifelong love of monsters and fantasy.
They all attack the vampire bat, other than putting those next 3 to sleep.
Skulls, and I was a kid, much to my parents' chagrin.
Oh,
Jeff Easley's Undead.
the vampire bat died easy this time.
Zombie-like.
Okay.
They've got personality, and you don't want to mess with them. They're
Touch
pretty
him.
fucking badass, and
Touch
they
him.
scare the crap out of you.
Still poisoned.
An intrinsic.
So let's do this instead.
Jeff Easley's Magister painting is
Let's
such
do another heal wounds.
awesome Dungeons and Dragons piece. I mean, you've got this wizard, Magister, who's
And then attack these other 3.
he's undead, and you're just drawn into the picture and you want to know why, what's going on.
There's 2 of them.
Jeff was the best at doing that.
Basham killed the lead one. There's that. Now there's one and
when you see an Easley magician going at it, the
Here
magic,
we go.
he just knew how to do that.
And then Jim organized
let's save that.
D&D game.
Where are we XP wise here? We are at 17,827 and level is at 20,000.
Situation where I thought it would be a cool thing to do to cast my new fireball.
So we're pretty close, really.
We will find out that if it is
2,200.
space, like a dungeon, small dungeon,
And where's my map?
a certain area to dissipate.
Here it is. We're on the safe side still.
She says, Jeff, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah.
He did everything he could do to prevent me from frying everybody, but I persisted and managed to kill him.
Still on the safe side.
That kind of ended the game.
One vampire bat to deal with.
Clyde was definitely a perfectionist and very particular about getting everything exactly.
Let's take care of these
I
two.
was really comfortable with people seeing my work before it was finished.
Vampire bat down.
I didn't mind showing it to people after it was finished, but I didn't like.
One of the other three is down.
Especially if I was having trouble with something.
I guess there was two. Okay.
I would take care of
Let's see.
His world's come to end.
Hide.
So the shooting, he would just ignore.
Let's not do that. Let's do this.
Blemish painted where there's
Still got that poison going.
precision and detail. He knew
Heal wounds on Sophie.
concrete shape of a form, describing a sword, describing
Heal
armor.
wounds on Sophie.
Really understand the mechanics and the structure.
His colors were so bright and vibrant.
Put these other two to sleep.
Blended so well.
The two rats.
Really just put together a
Rest
very
and
saturated
rest.
presentation, and I think that speaks to the energy that was the aesthetic that was desired.
There you go. Sophie got healed up a bit.
Ravenloft
The bat
was
died.
one of my first assignments.
Hide, hide,
And I think it was just
rest,
intended to be a
hide,
one-shot. Evidently,
rest,
it was a
and
popular
rest.
Module. As time went on, they
Let's get
decided,
those
well,
staminas
let's do
back up a bit.
campaign, you know,
Two rats.
for a game setting.
I think kicking makes more sense.
Added to the D&D lexicon is his sensuality of the character.
I'd paint all women sexy. If he painted a nun, it was a module about a nun, she'd have been the sexiest nun I've ever seen.
There we go.
The female characters just always appeal to me more than the male characters.
So now I need
Female characters either.
2,000.
Actually, TSR was pretty conservative about the female characters, and they thought that their audience was 14-year-old boys, but for some reason they didn't think 14-year-old boys like sexy women.
There we go.
She's the smooth, muscular, but still weirdly, bodaciously endowed. Yeah, she's like an otherworldly creature because it doesn't make sense that she could even stand.
I grew up with these artists who would draw women in these big bosom, like little bikinis, and I didn't think anything was wrong with it because there's nothing wrong with it.
Occasionally I would get a little criticism for maybe not having someone in full armor and that sort of thing.
It didn't cover a lot of vital areas.
Well, mostly nipples, I guess. 'Cause I mean,
I was painting for a game that had magic.
Alrighty, let's see here.
For protection, you could protect yourself without it.
I don't want armor. I want to have a wizard in a bikini with like wrist cuffs and like a magical shield. Like I don't need armor. Brain armor.
Each of the artists did 4 paintings in the Dragonlance side.
Ooh, Sophie is
Clyde
getting
was doing, like, Gold Moon
torn up by that poison
paintings
here.
on Clyde's drawing of diversity.
Let's see,
At some
Sylvia.
point, I decided I wanted to paint her with bare legs. She cried a while. She's looking at me.
There we go. Let's give her a little more time.
This is not Gold Moon.
She gotta
Gold Moon.
muscle through that poison, just outlast it.
I don't know what word she used. She's not this. After that, Gold Moon always had pants on and painting.
Here we go.
Of the group of artists that TSR brought
I've
in,
got one cure poison
Parkinson,
potion.
had numerous people and
Still
numerous
on the right
artists
side.
tell me that Keith Parkinson was actually the most influential. And I have also had numerous people argue with me that Keith Parkinson was the most accomplished painter of those 4 artists. And in fact, I've had some of those 4 artists tell me that Keith Parkinson was the most accomplished painter.
He died way too young, and he was an amazing artist.
He just picked up like gangbusters, man. I mean, he went at it, and he had a voraciousness to him that
There
he
we
just
go.
learn, and he did, man. He just by leaps and bounds, everything he did
That's the 4 there.
better than the thing he did before.
You got to learn from So I mean, Elmore, easily, Caldwell, like getting to learn from those guys. That's pretty great.
I was showing Keith. I said, look, if you have a hard time drawing an animal, go get a model. You know, as long as you're a model and you take a picture of it.
Let's see how this goes.
It's yours.
3 and 1, 2 and 1.
Reference photos.
The two are asleep. 1 and 1.
And Larry Elmore.
First one. Here we are. They're all down.
And a few of them.
So about 1,800 to go.
Prepare for their paintings. For this one, we've got a paper towel roll being a flute. Over here, we've got an X-wing being a laser gun, riding a park bench like a horse. Probably a lot of confused onlookers while they were doing this stuff.
Stayed on the right side there.
Into the history of this, that you don't really see this side of it.
You can see that he obviously studied classical painters because he's able to bring this incredible, realistic world to a convincing.
Let's see. It's thorough.
Innate color sense. I don't think he could.
Fireball at these three.
I kept thinking, like, I got a box of crayons. I only had 8 crayons.
Puts the middle two to sleep.
I've got a box of 182 crayons.
So my dad's take on
There's
color
a lead
is
bat
that
dead.
Color isn't blue, it isn't red, it isn't green. It's
Of
a
those
mixture.
back 3, they're all dead.
So his palette, if you look at it,
It just leaves the 2 that are sleeping. So we hide, hide,
whatever this was,
rest, hide, rest, and rest.
because that's exactly what it looked like. But then when you put it up on the canvas, oh, that's a tree. That's the color of bark. That is, I mean,
Rest,
I think
rest,
Parkinson came
rest,
from a place
hide,
of storytelling.
rest,
Always
and
a
rest.
Story and narrative and everything that keeps.
Now they all got to hide.
They're all action shots. They're all an event transpiring. There is an action happening, and this is a freeze frame of what's going on in that moment.
And a great example of that would be
Here we go.
What do you mean we're lost? That has 3 draconians arguing in the snow with trees behind them.
Okay, boy, you're gonna cast Cure Light again, or Heal Wounds on Sophie. And I think we'll go one more time, and then we'll probably rest.
Creatures in a situation that you wouldn't necessarily picture them being in, which is lost in the snow and cold and just grumpy and angry about it. He had, first and foremost, probably a fantastic sense of humor.
We love to play practical jokes.
I put all these paintings up on the wall, and I went home that night. When I came back in the next morning,
Put the second group to sleep.
I was going to start painting out with the weird little kind of what's going on.
I'm gonna throw another fireball
My brushes were gone.
at that group.
Everything was gone. I was totally exasperated by it. I slumped back in my chair. I looked up. All my stuff was
Oh,
on the ceiling. The phone was on there.
it's a number of attacks it missed right off the get-go.
All on the ceiling.
It's a pretty amazing feeling knowing and seeing the impact my dad has had on the industry, but more specifically, individual artists. Every kid wants to hear his dad's awesome, right? But I have a lot of people coming up telling me, you know, as a grown adult, that my dad was awesome, and he's been gone 12 years now. And the fact that people are still saying that kind of stuff when nothing new has come out in over a decade, that's fantastic, and I think speaks to what he was able to do with the time that he had.
I think what the worst thing about not only is his miss, but the paintings he would have done, we'll never see, because before he died, he was doing some fantastic paintings, and he was only going to get better.
Oh, good. 300 points, almost 400 points at that time.
Mid to late
Where are we now?
You really
19 and 2, 780 more XPs.
to an ever increasing number of people when they think of fantasy art, fantasy imagery, they start to think of TSR. They start to think of D&D. People that
Yeah, we're getting down there on stamina.
when you ask them, well, what does fantasy art look like? They'll point at Lord Soth's
Okay, 2
Even if they
vampire
have no
bats
idea
this time.
who Lord Soth is, or anything about Dragonlance, or anything about the world at all.
in the case of Dragonlance, I really had a sense that was going to be a big.
Let's
thing
do a
when
spell
I wrote
here.
The Art of the Dragonlance is one of my very first art books that I got. as you can see, the cover's off, third page is almost coming off. It was well worn, looked through hundreds of times.
There we go.
You know,
Do this one a little bit different. Let Kashina throw a spell, get her spell powers up a little bit.
Potions and everything. Just beautiful piece.
You got to know the characters. After a while, you knew.
Ooh.
They might look exactly like each painting, but you knew who they were. So it gave you a familiarity with every one of the book covers.
Okay, the vampire bats are gone.
Hard deadlines on us. They would let us paint on these until we were satisfied with them. So we were just really put everything we could into them.
Dragonlance was really the thing that
Heal wounds on herself.
style. So you had Dragonlance and Birthright and Dark Sun, Planescape, and all that stuff. That's when we
Right there and fight there.
And making
Sophie kills one.
guides or at least
Sophia heals herself.
Normally, what would happen is
Boy kills one.
designer and the editor
Basham
decide
kills one.
what they want for their product.
And the bite bat
Hopefully at that point
the
they
bite
have
bats.
a
The
story
bat
arc
bites
where they
Sylvia again.
They need
You needed 780 and there was 380.
illustrations and 2 half-page illustrations and 1 full page. They will come up with an art order or an art suggestion.
Well, let's see
And it is important that
how close this
art
gets me to
description
it.
is clear, that it creates a hierarchy for the artist to latch onto about what is important versus what is not important, and to remember that you're basically
Okay,
getting
I have got a
snapshots.
huge bat there.
Sometimes I think the editors
That's not something to play with.
describe a scene.
Remember what the fat rat was doing to us?
The impression they
Whoa,
were
whoa, whoa.
sometimes describing like a
Spell.
5-minute movie trailer. We've got this thief, and they're jumping off
Right
this
there.
roof, and they're bashing this guy as they're
Spell.
falling down to the thing, and then they're tumbling over, and I'm like,
Right
guys,
there.
guys, it's a scene.
There we go.
I was
Those
actually
2 energy blasts should take that huge bat down.
I get quite challenging briefs. 'Cause that's part fun of being.
I didn't count on rolling a 2 with a second power.
Sometimes it was even frustratingly simple. Like, I really wish you
Okay,
would
good.
have been
Marlon made up for it.
rather than having to make me guess.
We had occasions where we didn't even really have art directors. We were just kind of, we were kind of divvying, they would give us a big batch of stuff, and we were divvying up the jobs among ourselves.
Each one of us got the, we would roll dice to see who got the pick first. Clyde Caldwell wanted all the ones with chicks in them. He
There we go.
wanted to be the woman painter, so he would fight over.
That should be it for the vampire
So I
bat.
guess it depended on how.
There's 2 of these other ones left. One of them left.
The product line was, what the elements of the painting were, and if it had chicks in it.
And I missed it.
And then the stuff that we couldn't handle in house, we actually
Okay.
called freelancers.
Wore out,
ourselves,
wore out.
and made them, and did them on the
Pretty
job.
much wore out.
The dirty work that an art director would do also.
And their Rolodex consisted of a 4-foot square section of a top flat
There we go.
for art is all stored,
340.
and the top of that cabinet was post-it notes and 3x5
I'm right on top of it.
cards and scraps of paper with artists.
19937. Yeah.
I basically sat there while they
They're wore out.
and just would call
Okay, the
and
poison she outlasted that. That's gone away.
we keep this guy, and they'd say yes, and then I'd make an index card, and we started their actual.
Sylvia says heal herself again. Here we go. And now we're going to rest. Hey, these stamina points are just getting too low.
And sent this to TSR back in September of 1992.
Oh yeah, see, didn't even bring her stamina all the way back up.
Little letter saying, thanks, but no
They wore out.
She's like, we loved your stuff. And I'm like, you love my stuff. I'm like, but you sent a letter that said, you didn't like it. And she's like, well, all you sent were like floating images of monsters and people. Like, they weren't doing anything. They're just standing there. There's a Medusa standing here doing nothing, and a couple of gnolls looking around also doing nothing. They liked the way I drew, but the artwork was clearly I was doing nothing. By the end of that year, I was given my first assignment from TSR, which was a huge box set called Dragon Mount, which I remember because Janelle Jaquays did this amazing painting of a red dragon on top of a mountaintop.
My most famous piece.
Here at the vampire bat. Good.
As a freelance piece. Around 1990, I had a sea change in the way I paid
2 bats
some
left.
back from painting one
Hide,
day
hide.
to something that was more
Parry,
rich and
rest.
colorful and vibrant.
Hide,
People taste
parry,
our
rest,
music.
parry,
And
rest.
suddenly I started getting more cover work from
All 3 of them got hidden. That's good.
and eventually the product.
Freelancers.
Let's do this. Parry, rest, parry, rest, parry, rest. She's hidden. She's the loot.
About different things, but you still need a cohesive art
Go
direction.
back to sleep again.
The way that you're going to put the product forward. I think that's something that Dungeons and Dragons has always been able to do. Make a product line, and we identify it.
And the role of an art director.
Let's let them rest up. See if I can get her stamina up a little.
Your subtitle was
One more time.
Cat Wrangler.
See if that will bring Sophie's stamina
Your whole
up.
job was about trying to match up all these
It
different
did.
opposing forces. So you
It
have
did
R&D
help.
Guys who had a vision of what the art book should be look like, and then you've got the brand guys and the marketing guys who all have this vision of how it's got to fit into the world from a marketing and business standpoint. And then you've got all the partners that you deal with
Yeah.
who have to
The
be
bard, the mage, and the priest will all increase in level.
licensed products. and
Oh,
stuff
good.
like
Got
that.
8
And then
skill
you've got the
points.
artists
That's good.
themselves where you're trying to take the stuff that the guys in
Come
R&D
down here to
want and
skullduggery.
brand and marketing stuff and create a piece of artwork that fulfills on all their needs. But
Build
it's
that
also
up
very
one.
useful for the book. And oh yes, by
And
the
then
way,
spell
these events are very
capability.
happy.
You went from generic
Build
fantasy
that up. New
to,
bard spell.
suddenly having this myriad of worlds, different realms. You had Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun. There's a definitive feeling.
Yeah, she's going to take Detect Secret.
And that's all drawn from that creative
The
team.
mage.
Creative forces behind it. And that creative team
1
shows
skill
that
point.
creative
That
artists
sucks.
represent
I love finding
That's not good.
the perfect piece to give to the perfect artist. The first thing you have to decide is what kind of worlds do you want.
Is there any other
and,
spells there?
define
Ooh,
some
ice
goals.
ball.
And then you start
That could be interesting.
working with artists that can execute on that and bring that vision to life.
With Dark Sun, they wanted to try something different. They wanted a strong look and feel to identify the world. And to
I'm going to do
that,
air
they
pocket.
used one artist to
In case
establish
somebody else throws a
one of the
poison cloud or
paintings.
something at them.
Been in a lot of my expertise
Oh.
doing my own paintings, and these I had
Lousy
on
2.
the wall. One of the paintings I did was this muscular woman on a rock. It was Neva with the wings and the mask on the top. Little did I know that they were creating a new world called Dark Sun, and they were looking for a completely
Spell undead.
look. They came in, saw that painting,
Okay,
and
now,
they thought, this is perfect.
for the ninja and the monk to level,
Without brown, there would be no Dark
oh,
Sun.
the monk needs 22-4, the ninja needs 24.
Say, Dark Sun is why your art is why I bought this product. It's what got me into
That I think bothers me. I think that's going to be a while.
It was a goofball.
Let's take a look-see here.
It was always funny.
Diesel in particular would have
Yeah, that's 2,300 for the monk and 3,900 for the ninja. So, I think what I'm going to do,
Jeff Easley, complete with the TV guide in his pocket.
Yeah, on this-
we're on the right side of the stairs there.
Hair sticking out,
Let's go back down.
I thought it was like a clown or something.
and I show up at the party. So he's his Satan and I'm his Jeff. And it's kind of
My
like
mage, my priest,
I just wish I'd known.
my bard, and my Valkyrie are all 6th level.
Retaliated.
So I'm hopeful.
Because we did have like a particular artist for a particular world. They were really involved
Maybe.
with the designer and the editor in the beginning, especially.
I
for
can't go
something
through
like
there. I don't
Planescape
have that.
that came around. I mean, you really remember the artist being a big part of all that design right from the beginning.
Planescape was
There's a door.
just so different. It was not typical medieval fantasy. It was not a regular fantasy world. It was interplanar. The art was fresh.
At this point,
That's
was more
locked.
confident than I'd ever been with my
Okay.
illustration for TSR.
Let's
So it
let
was, a chance
Kashina
I
try
felt
it.
to really shine.
Oh,
and
that
rise
jams
to
it.
the
Okay, that's no
Because
good.
the other thing they told me was, like Dark Sun,
Quit,
you
no
will be
save,
only
resume saved.
on these
Let's
books.
let
And at least for the
Basham
first
try
year
it.
as we launch the
Uh-oh.
series, we want you to be
Okay, that's one of those that's going to require the right key for it.
And for the first couple of modules, I think that came out. This is one of the Mercy Killers. This would have been from the original campaign.
Do I have the key for it?
This is all designed
It's
for
not an iron
David
key.
Gibson's concept art that would have been done early on for the game.
Not a
Game
copper
designer,
key.
Zeb Cook,
Those
he
are the
was
only
one
keys
who
I
said,
have.
well, we want a kind of a medieval world, but he said, you got to make it different. And I was kind of like, well, you know,
Let's try this one.
Make it different. And all he said were the two words, I'll make it spiky and bumpy.
Ooh.
And that was it.
This is called a mortuary, and these were portals that actually went to different places.
There is a chance, but it's not good.
They're there.
Oh, it's going to jam now. Yep.
Creepy look with some of the spears and stuff sticking out. When everybody saw this one, this pretty much sold a lot.
I do want to give Kashina the chance at it. Okay, it did not jam.
So I came up with this idea, which is the gates and the bat wings. And the owner, Lorraine Williams, actually liked this logo
Nope.
so much, she thought it was actually too good.
Okay, let's see if I've got a key that'll open this one.
So we switched it over to Ravenloft, and I don't think it ever.
Not an iron key.
We had to come up with a new idea, and that's where we used one of the faction symbols.
Not a copper key.
I had done some faction symbols. These are these symbols for different clan groups and stuff. And one of them was this woman's head with the blades coming out. She has this dead smile. Eyes are just, you know, they stare back at you. Very mysterious, very creepy.
When we got to Planescape, there wasn't a lot of those classic monsters in Planescape. There were some secondary monsters that you might
Kashina did not pick it, but that didn't jam it either.
Core monsters were there. And I felt like I had the freedom to kind of
Oh.
go nuts.
Tony almost added a level of aesthetic clutter.
Caught all three of them red. That was no good.
Pouches, little knickknacks, and things kind of like swirled away on figures or on characters. And before that, you know, you'd get like
Quit no save, resume save.
with pants and with boots. Tony comes along and does his gnome with a candelabra headset, smoking a pipe with a crazy pouch and platform shoes and like all this bizarre, crazy idiosyncrasies that make those creatures more than creatures. They make them individuals and characters.
Everything just.
I don't imagine I've got the keys that'll open any of the doors on this level.
Wonderful feelings when you work on a world, and it turns out the way you wanted it to, only it turns out even better.
I always think back on those years working on Planescape, and I always smile because it was such a great time in my life, and those were great people.
Oops.
During my time at TSR, it was during Lorraine Williams' reign, so to speak. And,
They were green more than red. How can I get all red?
Weren't gamers who weren't familiar with the industry, but they had backgrounds as actual managers.
Sometimes they made decisions that were not based on reality.
Jeff Easley was pegged
Let's try this one again.
cover for a new product.
No,
And management
okay.
wanted to make sure it's
We're
the
going to
best
leave that
piece,
door.
so they specified
Come back over to this one where I jammed it up.
expensive colors on this
Save and
paint.
resume is what I wanted to do.
Like Rose Madder, it's the most expensive paint tube. So I can imagine if his whole painting was Rose Madder. Another thing that happened along the similar
Save and
lines,
resume.
another important project
Let
came
Basham
out,
try it.
And they said this project's
Ugh.
important. Make sure you
Jammed
use
it.
all the colors. So that just kind of gives you an idea of
Okay.
between the understanding.
Try the keys I have.
creatives, especially the painters at TSR.
No.
Originally, we got to keep our art. Then, somewhere along the way,
Copper key
I'd
open
say,
one.
Right around maybe 1980 or so, they decided that, well, we should keep the art of TSR.
And those works went into a vault that was found and opened when Wizards purchased TSR.
Some of the art got back into the artist's hands, but some of it didn't.
In the generations that we're talking about, D&D art wasn't a digital piece on a computer. It was a real piece.
This room was once a beautiful parlor with ornamental furniture and gaily painted walls. Now its colors have faded and turned dull, and the chairs have all turned to dust.
But at the time,
Nobody knew. I get this call from
More
somebody
rats.
going, hey, we were cleaning out the shipping department because they're getting ready for some construction or something. We found this painting behind a big filing cabinet, and we were thinking about throwing them away, but we figured since it's hard, we should call you up and let you know and let you can tell us what to do with it. And I went down there and I was like, oh my God, this is the original Trampier cover. Oh, what is this doing? Why is this here? Why is this behind the thing? And totally freaked out, realizing that we were like literally moments away from this thing ending up in a dumpster because nobody in shipping had an understanding of what it was and what the importance was to this brand.
For whatever reason, that boggles my mind. Original artwork somehow.
And there was nothing in that room.
Confused.
Which is why we were able to pick that lock, I'm sure.
In at least 3 batches that I know of. And I did not learn about it until the last batch that they were chucking away. And I was out of my mind. I couldn't believe that they were doing this. So I grabbed a bunch of that.
And if it wasn't for the fact that there were some people who happened to be witnessing at the time that this was happening, that
Okay, that just jammed right up on me. So let's do this.
A really good
Let's see if Basham can pick it.
Not purely
Here we
evil
go.
villain is so much more interesting than a hero, no matter how well he's fleshed out. I love fantasy art because of the monsters.
Here we go.
D&D was the first niche to fill a monster market and give us
3 creeping vines.
visual evidence of what creatures were that we might have seen or wanted to go.
These locks are way too hard to open for what's behind them. Which they were in this era.
What D&D did.
Several rotted cots and an old flower pot are all that remain here within these simple quarters. You recall the story of the servant girl, given with a child rumored to be an illegitimate son of the king. Although nothing was ever proved, supposedly the king came to her bed once a week every night of her 14th year. Despite the relentless efforts of the queen, she never could catch him in the act, and soon it was whispered that the king had some kind of secret magical powers that enabled him to walk through walls.
It's like being an explorer. You're the first one who's
Let's see if there's anything in here.
to everyone else what that thing looks like.
So I had to paint a dragon. First dragon I ever painted was book of TSRs. I'm like, God, I'm gonna paint a dragon. And my encyclopedia's out. I looked up dinosaurs.
No, nothing in there.
Reptiles.
Okay.
And people said, well, why do you put front legs on a dragon? You know, why you see a lot of dragons with the wings and the front legs tied together? It's like, well, because TSR said in D&D, dragons were very intelligent. They could do things that they cast spells. They need to use their front
Both
legs.
red.
I was always a little intimidated by dragons, though. I hadn't done a lot of dragons prior to coming to TSR. And then Dragonlance came along, and we kind of
Not an
changed
iron
the
key.
look of the dragons. I got to develop the black dragon and the green
Copper
dragon.
key.
You know, I think Larry did the white dragon and the blue dragon. Jeff did the red dragon.
A whole bunch of bats.
The dragon has evolved a little over the years. And I think that eventually I got to the point where physically a lot of my dragons are kind of almost
Four of them to
muscular,
sleep.
arms and so forth. And then you can get people kind of an expressive gesture in the way I do
Fireball.
the faces, I think, oftentimes. It's almost a caricature approach.
And bless.
The eyes and a little bit of grin or just the way
Okay,
they
the regular bats in the front.
Yeah, they're just of all the fantasy creatures, I think they're probably the most iconic.
And the blessed fizzles.
Really set the bar recently for kind of
Those 4 go to sleep.
You can't have more fun for money than designing the dragons for D&D.
Todd he really
That's
had an
4
aim
dead in
to,
the back.
just redesign them to make them less humanoid in their anatomy and more feline, more bestial, and
It's the 4 sleeping
really
bats.
gave each one its own really distinct.
Heal himself.
Seeing like the green dragon looked very different from the black dragon, looked very different from the blue dragon. It was really inspiring because there was taken into account
Stamina on self.
and where these dragons could be
Parry
found.
rest. Hide.
Very closely.
Parry rest. Parry rest. Go. Kashina hides. Basham heals.
Skeletons. We drew
Hide. Hide.
and then we freshened it
Rest. Rest.
A lot of different
Rest
textures
and
and
rest.
colors from real world objects like for this copper dragon, he's got a really nice patina.
You're
on it,
still
but
asleep.
each
That's
dragon-
good.
This dragon has such a unique
Rest.
head crest and look
Rest.
about it that
Rest.
you can really start to appreciate
Rest.
the culture
Rest.
of
And
each
rest.
species.
Dragons have wings.
And then now they're
They
starting to
don't
wake up.
swing from tree limbs. They don't need
So now we'll punch him.
powers that can brachiate. A cat can't do this. But a monkey can. The dragon doesn't need to swing from a tree, so we gave them limbs more appropriate to the things it would use those limbs for.
For me, when I'm painting a dragon, when I'm approaching the design aspect of it, it's almost like a personality that you have to hit, less so than
The room is rather dull, having blank walls and no furnishings, save for a few decomposed cots.
for impact. I'm aiming for this powerful feel to them.
It may be dull, but we're going to search it anyway.
Real treat for me because they're one of my
It
favorite
was
dragons
locked
in the
doors
game.
after all.
It sort of takes your breath away a little bit. Where you see the beauty of this animal rather than just a monster. Something with just a couple hit points and some loot on it to get later.
When I'm designing creatures, I much more prefer kind of earthbound creatures. Like if it looks more alien, I don't like that.
Because
Okay, so let's try this door. Oh, it's not locked.
creatures already done it.
One of the things
Whole bunch of rats.
is always in the forefront of my mind. Outside of the standard art stuff.
I'm going to attack these giant rats.
Is how do these creatures work? Like how do they interact with their environments?
Going to
How do
put
they
the
interact
3
with
in the
each other?
lead to
How do they
sleep.
make that look believable?
I am every monster in all of my work. I use this medium in this form to do a series of self-portraits.
Here we go. The 3 lead ones are asleep.
One of the assignments that I had to do for the Halls of Undermountain, and it was
Finally, somebody hit the giant rat.
self-portraits that I've done for Dungeons and
Here we
Dragons.
go. Killed
I
it.
really wanted to
Oh, there's
do
2 of them
a
there.
nice piece of reference that I was going to use to help
I
things
killed it.
along.
All right.
I just wanted to create a really happy, excited little goblin that wanted to help the players out, and he's going to carry all their stuff as long as you have 90% of a truth with a monster. That 10% can be as crazy, as weird, and as much of a lie as you want, and you will create something that is believable.
So, there's the age-old answer, like, well, how does that work? And it's like, a wizard did it. It's like it's magic. You can delve into the realm of magic.
That's what gets me excited about making art for Dungeons and Dragons. Is that I get to
Here
create
we go.
something.
Healed up.
It's an ogre slingshot that's slingshotting goblins.
There's those 2 that are sleeping. Hide,
There has to be some
hide,
type of
rest,
guy
hide,
who says, "All right,
rest,
sling it,"
rest.
So we have one goblin in there who's kind of like
Somebody
the leader,
failed to hide.
who's saying, "Sling away,"
Rest,
so then he can yank
hide,
his chains down,
rest,
and sling this goblin
rest,
covered in
rest,
spiky armor
rest.
into an enemy. I hope
So
it
if he got hit,
inspires
somebody woke up, so it's time to
come
fight.
up with a scenario that he can put his people up against to fight this thing.
The best A&E monsters, I think, are these.
And that's the end of that fight. Okay. You defeated the monsters.
And that's probably like the Beholder and their only bizarre creatures.
Nothing.
The Beholder was just sort of an accident. I seem to have gotten all sorts of
I
credit.
doubt that the facings will matter, but
Even though I didn't think of it, Gary probably thought the damn thing up. He just described it to me. 10 eye stalks and a big eye, and it floats in the air.
If you look at the way
something about walking through walls into the
first illustration, like on the cover of
other bedroom. There seems to me there should be a secret passage here.
if you look at the way they're being depicted now, they've got much bigger mouths full of much sharper teeth.
But there doesn't seem to be one.
Place where the artist feels that they can make that beholder a little bit cooler, they're doing it.
Beholders were terrifying. That was the monster that, if it didn't turn you to stone, it could disintegrate you or turn your magic off or just kill you outright with a glance. So when I got a chance to redesign the Beholder for 3rd edition, I tried to make him more
Got
real
it,
and
good.
visceral and scary. And, well, I suppose maybe I pictured a Trampier-like Beholder, or maybe I pictured one of the
2 rats.
things that had been done shortly before that, which was just kind of a beach ball with penises coming out of it. And so instead of penises, they were like slug eyes that would stretch out like a slug's eye doesn't even retract. There's nothing phallic about the eye stalk.
This impressive-looking suite appears to have been some kind of guest room. An inference made by examining a tiny placard behind the door which reads, "Checkout, 10 a.m."
If anything was phallic in anything I did, it would have been snits, because
Well, there's a door.
penis and balls with feet.
A writer of an adventure can come up with a great idea for a monster, but if you make it look dumb, it's not going to have the reputation that it deserves from writing. So it's there's an awesome responsibility that comes with it.
There's tons of fear messing with those monsters, especially like classic ones, because you don't want to disappoint the fans.
I don't think the audience for D&D has had any problem with the fact that
they'll just attack and vines.
It's like everything else in a role-playing game. Even the rules, they're guidelines only at a certain level. I mean, the game master is there so that anytime the rules fail to do the job, the game master can step in and make things work the way it needs to. Same thing goes with the art.
Here are all the monsters for D&D that we want to feature in 5th edition. These are all the ones that are going to be relevant.
Nothing.
We went through each one and said, okay, owlbear. And we grabbed every piece of art we've ever shown of an owlbear, of the different major styles, threw them up on a board, and then went through this analytical list and said, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't.
Through all this work that I've done for the past 20 some odd years, it's been
It wasn't locked.
challenge. Like, how am I going to make
One
this
rat.
ridiculous sounding monster that's a cross between a
Everybody attacks it,
How am I going to make that look cool?
and it dies quickly.
The creatures always comes back to they have to have a lot of teeth and drool and
An old wooden table and several chairs are rotting away in the center of the room, and fragments of broken flagons and rubble cover the floor.
The carrion crawler was a bit of a challenge because it's a huge insectoid-like creature that resides in dark places and eats dead things that kind of ended up there. Of course, it kind of made sense.
You found a ring with 2 odd-looking black keys, each with a handle in the shape of a small spade.
For it to kind of feel renowned, which the tentacles that were traditionally drawn on the carrion crawler could totally do. So that was nice that those were there. So in my
One of the towers, I think, had a
I've made those tentacles
spade door or something in it, didn't it?
so they're a lot more agile, kind of able to sort of feel around its environment.
cool thing about the goblinoids, what was an interesting challenge was to make them all feel like they're kind of from the same DNA pool. They're all structurally humanoid from the neck down, but where their character is going to lie is in their faces. And they all have pointed ears, but they're all very in shape. For the most part, their nose is kind of locked them in as being...
Where are we XP wise now?
The carryover that
20,46.
is furry, animalistic, ferocious. The hobgoblin, again, the same nose, kind of the same
I'm
jawline,
thinking...
but hobgoblin had to be more intelligent. And the goblinoids, when you look at him, he just looks like he's going to steal all your stuff when you're sleeping. Probably
Where's my way down here? Right there. I'm thinking one of these towers
these monsters, these
had a door.
Are like a fairy tale, or like folklore, mythology. They can be
That had something to do with Spade.
over and over again for each generation, and that is incredibly exciting to see.
The evolution of the art itself is interesting. And
This isn't it, I'm sure.
You can kind of find a little bit of a different template and a flavor of kind of how the art looks. And I know with 5th edition, it does seem to go back to a little bit of that earlier quality.
The direction I've given to the art directors is I want everything to look like it's been done traditionally. I wanted to have love and reverence for the pages again.
As Dungeons & Dragons has moved and evolved, I feel like there has been a conscious effort for the game players and the game designers to become more aware of the people that are playing their games.
Okay, this isn't the right tower.
And depicting people that look like them.
Fantasy in general suffers from being very European, and there are so many more amazing cultures and stories and worlds out there that I think are starting to kind of penetrate into fantasy realms.
One of the things that
This is the downside to doing an hour-long video once a day, once every other day, is you kind of forget
a really good example of this, I think, is this.
where which doors were.
We have a woman of color.
I do remember that somewhere there was a door that said something about Spade.
It's who we start to feature more. When we got the
Whoops.
descriptions, they were very adamant. They were like, try not to make it like a white blonde guy. Like, please, like we love them, but there's like 500 million of them.
The diversity that the characters need to have needs to reflect the gaming world now.
Okay, that's
The mix
not
of
it.
people that are
playing these games. You know, it's not 13-year-old white boys held up in their basements. It's a very diverse crowd. Males and females, all nationalities. So this was a great opportunity to mix that up.
That's not it.
Really thinking about the people that are reading these books and like understanding this media and having them see themselves portrayed in that gives a lot of hope that fantasy can be a genre for everyone.
All right, let's come down to these two southern towers.
Dungeons and Dragons art is important because it has had a tremendous impact on both the imaginative art consuming public as well as
I think this is the one with the guy hiding behind the door.
D&D.
Yep.
Eliminating that game, eliminating all of that work. The landscape would look very, very different. There would not be the expectation for this kind of art and of this kind of art that you see today in things like video games.
This is the guy who's giving the reward for Snoop Cherry.
But if you look at who's
Tall, scruffy swordman, Lamont's, did you find Snoop Cherry? No, we did not.
The artwork has solidified the place.
Okay, let's see here.
Somehow speaks to the nature of adventure. We've closed all our frontiers.
What Scott Basham got to sell here? Anything?
At the time, I don't think
No.
any of us
What are you selling? Anything I want?
grasped
Not particularly.
what a big deal this all was. I was way too busy feeling how
Does anybody have anything to sell here? I don't believe so, actually.
the kinds of art that I wanted to do.
So that's Lamont. Okay, we know that now.
Hey, 40 years from now, there will be people looking back on this and thinking of it as historical.
God, it is 40 months. No, it's 30. No, it's 40 years. It's had to do the math. That's crazy.
It's exciting to be part of this.
Remember on the wall was the graffiti reward for Snoop Cherry?
40 years. It's not kind of exciting. It's really exciting.
Let's see if
It's something that I never thought I would.
this was where the Spade door was.
For my career, when what I really was looking for was a lifeline, it turned out to be so much more.
So then you realize how lucky I am to have been right
No.
place at the right time and forge a little bit of the history of the TSR.
Oh, shoot.
I think it's a legacy.
Thought it was in one of these towers.
Seeing the work that was done way back with TSR and then work that's being done now and in the future.
That means it's got to be
better and better and better.
Being able to contribute to
one of those inner doors, up one of those two stairs in the room where the
that's going to sit on a bookshelf.
stamina potion fountain is.
Dungeons and Dragons is about imagination. It's about storytelling. It's about creating something together. And these depictions, these drawings of characters that someone draws on their player character sheet, or that a monster manual shows us what we're going to fight, or a module shows us the room we're about to enter. These are all
Well, these
parts
two then.
of that narrative. They're all pieces that fuel our collective imagination. And I'm very, very honored and thankful that I got to be a part of that. I'm happy that my art.
There it is. Black Iron Spade. Knew there was one.
I don't feel famous. I don't feel anything. I just feel lucky. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get one painting right.
A zombie. Still undead. Zombie was unaffected. 37 points of damage, 42. There we go. Got the critical hit. Inside the castle spire, the contents of a bed, table, and chair still remain intact after all these years. Bits of old hair and rotted flesh are evident upon the bed, probably from the corpse, which you have recently put to rest. Yeah, I can see there's something there. Okay, we will do this. You'll put that group to sleep. We're at an hour now, too. These guys are getting tired. Hide, hide, hide. They all got hid. All right, let's get over here to where this is. Okay, U and an S. Noxious fumes. 3, ooh. Shit, a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't know who can take how much. 3 chrome keys. A skull cap. 11 sparklers. 5 sneeze. Oh, just barely took those. Okay, we're going to trade to Marlin. The 5 sneeze. She can take 1 now. Marlin can still take 1. Okay, Sheena can take a couple. Sylvia can take 1. Sophie is full up. Has a skull cap. Mage, priest, alchemist, psionic, bard, monk. Kashina is wearing a feathered hat, which does 2. Skull cap does 1, so she's wearing better armor than that is. Still, I will trade that to Kashina. Yep, and Basham is now full up. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. I'm going to trade the wine bottle to Kashina. Now everybody can take 1 thing. Here we go. Oh, I got a sneeze building up in there. Okay, we're going to call that a day here. We're at a little over an hour. Comment down below. Click like, hit subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on what's going on here. Something you want to see me do that I'm not doing. Something you see me doing that you think is wrong. Whatever it happens to be. Chime in. Feel free. Let's communicate here. Take care of yourselves. Have fun. Stay safe. And as I always say, till we see each other again, stay the hell off my lawn. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.